I want to say thank you so much for accepting to talk to us.
It's not a wonderful pleasure.
Oh my God. Well, I want to go straight up. Mustapha, tell me about your upbringing. Where were you born and who were your parents?
Wow, this is a very tough question. I was born in Dambai and bred in Dambai, but from different parents. I was adopted at childhood within the same area.
Wow.
So I was raised by my mother partly and a different mother partly. I was born by a traditional farmer who was also a chief, and then adopted by a chief butcher. Who had a lot of wives and children. And so I had the privilege of being raised in a family, a very large family. And my upbringing, well, I come from a typical platform of poverty. I have seen and tasted poverty. I'm only sitting here by grace. For all intents and purposes, we're never part of the people one would think that will come this far. My parents were very poor, typical farmers. And then my foster father, he was a chief butcher, and we had to be raised like soldiers. You have to survive on your own. And you go and buy cattle, and you have to pull the cattle, you have to kill the cattle, and then you have to sell meat. You have to go to school at the same time. And so that's how I grew up.
I'm interested in your upbringing. You were born to farmers as parents, right?
Yes.
What happened and you were adopted? How many children were in the family? When exactly were you born? You want to share?
My parents had, my dad and mom had about 11 children, one girl and the rest were boys. And then somebody just walked into the family, liked me, and for whatever reason, I became his son. And he gave me the best care that I would ever, get as a child. I was his favorite. If it's Alaji Sofo Dambai, he's today the original chief butcher of Oti region.
Interesting.
And I was also raised there with siblings. There's a man who raised other people's kids. And so a lot of boys who were butchers were virtually his kids, and he raised all of us together. He himself had about 15 children.
Interesting.
And I grew up through that family.
It doesn't look like you had a good relationship with your father. Were you close to your father?
A bit, yes, I was. I was very close to my father. I was very close to all my parents. But I was raised by my foster mother, who I have a very close relationship with.
Did you get the opportunity to go to school at that early age?
Well, I schooled under trees. I wrote on the floor. There was no chalk. We had to use slate. And then by Old Town LA Primary School, kindergarten from there. So my father's house and my kindergarten is actually 2 or 3 steps. At school, I'm going back by the grace of God to try and rebuild. I grew up from there, and then I went to EP Primary School. I went to OT Secondary Technical School. I actually had an English teacher when I was second term of my second year. So that is how deprived our type of schools were. And from there, I went to Hope Polytechnic. I became a student leader. It went and went and went and went. And today, by the grace of God, I'm sitting before you, well educated, able to speak in the midst of others.
So you are well educated?
Very educated. Very, very educated.
What's your level of education?
I have a number of masters. I have studied law. I have studied security and defense.
Are you a lawyer?
I studied finance. In fact, the day I was supposed to write my entrance exams was the day my houses were demolished.
Oh, you had your houses demolished?
Yes.
I will go into this pretty soon, but before then, tell me, Mustapha, tell me exactly when you were born. You want to share with me?
Well, for security reasons, I want to save that.
Okay, that is fair. Now, tell me about the demolition of your house. What happened?
Okay, so in 2013, I bought my land from Honorable Afenyo-Markins and Co. And I'm right here thereabout. They own even the Legon Hills and all of that, their land. So in the process of trying to build, I actually had started. And then another man walks to me and said he had issues with Afenyo-Markins and Co. And they were in court. And so he needed to speak to the president, then President Mahama. So I told him that, well, Afenyo-Markins was the regional minister and that he was my senior colleague. I couldn't have gotten myself involved in that. So the best I could do was to introduce him to Baba Kamara, Alhaji Baba Kamara, who was a security advisor. He went to try and deal with the issues. And so we're close, very close. So at some point I told him that if you have issues with my landlords, then add me to the suit. Otherwise, then I don't have an issue with you because you agree that you have sued my landlords. And there was no any injunction on the area I bought or on me personally. And then the man said he didn't have a problem. And I actually gave him the assurance that even if you go to court and you happen to win over my landlords, I will still pay you equivalence of your cost for the land. So we started. I built my house. I was living there, constructed a road, and he came to have a problem with me why I, fetch gravel in the same area to construct a road for all of us. So I said, look, if you were coming to the land, then you have to jump because that's the road you also equally use. So that disagreement ensued. And the man told me one day, so I woke up one morning, he was by my door holding a gun, a pistol.
Wow.
And he said American embassy had permitted him to hold. And I said, American embassy could not have permitted you to hold a gun. But anyway, don't come to my house with a gun. Because I don't believe that you have what it takes to control a gun. He got upset and he says I was a criminal. How come a young man like me, I built a mansion? And so if his government came to power, he was going to demolish my house. So I said, well, you will demolish the house, but I don't think you will be alive.
Wow.
So I took it as a joke and then I left it. When President Takufo-Addo won, then Kwesi Fori was my mate at Mount Crest Law School here.
Right.
We're friends. I didn't know. One day I woke up in the morning. I was at Sprinters around 6 a.m. and I was told that about 4 dozers with land guards and about 11 pickups, 47 police officers surrounded my house. I've never been in court. I've never been served any court document. Never been summoned by a court. I'm told that there was a demolition injunction against me to demolish my houses. I said, well, let me see what documents we're holding, at least. Let me appreciate what it is. No, nobody will listen. And then they pulled down my houses.
So it was a politically motivated kind of demolition.
Politically motivated. And my investigators at the time they said I was a notorious operative of the NDC. And so, at the time, the government had these logic or mentality to say, look, we need to tame all our opponents who had characters and all of that. And so I happened to be a victim. It was a very tough moment, but I think I have gone past it.
They demolished the whole house?
Everything. I took nothing.
So when your party came into power, did you go back to take the house?
I have not.
You left it?
I haven't left it.
Are you going after it?
I am a warrior.
Wow. Where is this house land located?
Around Adenta Amrahia Road.
Wow. My guest in the studio is Mustapha Gbande, and he is the Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency. Now, Mustapha, tell me, what does your job entail?
Well, I think I am at the pleasure of His Excellency the President. I've happened to work with him in the party as a Deputy General Secretary in charge of operations. That required that you basically ensure that the party was at balance. because of course my boss is a big man.
Yeah.
Honorable Fifi Kote. And then I was, were two deputies. Honorable Barbara Samoa, former Deputy Minister for Lands, and then myself. I happen to be the youngest and the most energetic, obviously, because I'm young.
Yes.
So I was doing all the legworks, all the errands. And the scope of my job was to ensure that the party was at balance.
Yeah, right.
Conflict-free, and I mean internal conflicts that were focused to the various key objectives that we had. And so I was all over the place. So when we won, His Excellency decided that I serve him as a Deputy Director of Operations. I'm actually serving under a COP, Nathan Kofi as my Director of Operation. I fall directly under the Chief of Staff, and then my big brother Standogbe, who I serve under, basically to take care of the Jubilee House and other responsibilities that the officers above.
Is the Jubilee House safe?
Very safe.
We were told about so many cameras hidden in walls and under carpets and all that.
Yeah.
How true was that?
When we won, there were a lot of cleanups that took place at the Jubilee House for the purposes of presidential conversation. The place today is habitable and accommodating, befitting the status of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and is secured.
Were there bugs in there?
Well, I can't speak to that for now. In the past, I will speak to it, unless it becomes very compelling. But today, the Jubilee House is very secured and protected by the teams, the various individuals who have been tasked to protect the welfare, well-being, and business of government. When we took over, what I can say is that it was a very dirty place.
Dirty place. Wow.
Very dirty place. That's a very dirty place, unkept. You obviously would think that people were not living there. And
I hear windows were broken, taps were broken.
I was shocked that that was the face of our presidency. I mean, that was the highest seat of the government, the place that housed the president of Ghana. I mean, and Blakk Rasta, I say this with all apology, I'm a Ghanaian. A young man, of course.
Right.
When I travel out of this country, I'm proud of my country. I'm proud of my president. It doesn't matter who is the president of Ghana. I think that we didn't meet a place befitting the status of a president. It was dirty, cracked tiles, broken, air conditions, not working, all of that.
What happened? Was it intentional or was it just negligence?
Well, when I threw this challenge to the MPP before, they couldn't give me that answer. It's just a place of indiscipline. Because there's so much indiscipline in this country. It's not just about politicians. It's about every person you have engaged to do one thing or the other. So much indiscipline. People don't pay attention to their duties. People find shortcuts to get favorites and get favored. And so they don't believe that doing your work can promote you to where you want to go. And so that's a typical problem that I believe that we face as a country. And that was what manifested at the Jubilee House.
Why would anybody want to bug the seats of government?
I can assure you that we've had a very mischievous government being led, the former government led by, His Excellency, former President Akufo-Addo today. Very mischievous. A government that normalized crime. They normalized everything on ethical politics. They normalized everything that you frown on as far as governance is concerned. And my fear is, would Ghana still be Ghana if we had these people in government for another 4 years?
This is 3FM.
So many things they have done wrong. So many things. The president may not have the intention of doing all this wrong, supervising same, or actually hurting the people of Ghana, how far they have gone. But certainly he didn't take responsibility of his government and allowed individuals to do what they want. The government was run on shoulders by individuals, not systems. And so people did everything they could from all forms of illegalities for the purposes of shielding the image of governance. Some of the things you can't talk about it on radio. And I can tell you that the worst experience, and I mean no government should ever be allowed to give Ghana the experience that I've seen President Akufo-Addo take our country through.
So he was not in charge?
Was he in charge? Yes, he was. He was. You ought to be in charge. As president, you ought to be in charge. You have to take ultimate responsibility. You had a duty to appoint honest people around yourself. You have a duty to appoint people who will give you accurate information. You had a duty to appoint people who were loyal to your vision. And you had a duty to ensure that the people you were appointing at least had the nation at heart. So whether he was sleeping or he wasn't sleeping, quite apart from the fact that the entire nation cried out about some of the ills to his hearing, and you have often seen President Akufo-Addo reply some of the people, some of the complaints that Ghanaians have spoken about. So you cannot say that he was in charge. He was in charge. He knew what was happening. He enjoyed it. It was, helpful for his government at the time. He enjoyed it.
Right.
So he was in charge, basically in charge.
How long did it take you to clean up the whole place?
Other seniors started doing that. They did so. I was busy coordinating the various pockets of activities post-election. Our youth, going on rampage here and there. So other officers had to take charge of that, and they did it so well.
Is it befitting now?
Yes, I think that if you gradually, there's the face is lifting. My deputy chief of staff, Stan Dogbe, is a man of artwork, and whatever he does, I'm not like him. I don't have the skills he has, but this is a man who artwork is easy for him. Branding is easy for him. He makes art very beautiful, and so with his presence, the presidency is becoming what it used to be. The lawns are becoming greener. Painting is ongoing. Particularly the wisest decision of His Excellency the President to have slashed down but maintain the relevance of our Independence Day celebration also saw a lot of renovation work, primary renovation work that gave the presidency a basic face uplift. So it's becoming better.
When you got into power, in fact, there were so many wanton arrests, left, right, and center, and several of those arrests had you fingered. At a point, you said you wanted to arrest Wuntumi and others. Tell me about those arrests and what exactly made those necessary.
When we won, one day I've had the privilege to speak to Mr. President, and he made a very profound statement. For me, that was my inspiration, and if you know, I'm very loyal to whatever President Mahama. And the same way I'll take responsibilities for him. He says, look, get everybody to go back and let's do things right. Wherever you are, go get the country calm. This government, President Akufo-Addo's government, have hurt not only innocent Ghanaians, but their own party people. And so when we won, their own party people were the ones volunteering information.
Wow. Because they were hurt.
They are hurt. They are still hurt. Those who love the nation saw the bad light of what was being done. And so people really felt that, look, it was not about the two traditions, NDC, MPP. A wrong is a wrong.
This is 3FM.
Look, to me, for example, a fortunate regional chairman of the MPP in Ashanti region, by the grace of God, you are able to mine. You took leverage of your government to acquire concessions and you're mining. He was able to show you and I bars of gold on TV. Say, see how rich I am. And this same character, you go to his site and he does not adhere to mining regulations. Actually mine on buffer between forest and water bodies.
Wow.
So he has gone to extract the gold. He's enjoying, ignorantly displaying it. But somebody, some innocent person will pay for it. When we won election, the week of the transition, we arrested a trailer loaded with sand, and there were explosives under that sand.
Wow.
And they belonged to Untumi, going to his quarry in Ashanti region.
Interesting.
So when I say we arrest such a person, these are some of the issues. Blakk Rasta, it doesn't matter whose government is in power. And recently we've had a meeting with some privileged elders, and I said, look, this government will treat crime as crime. It doesn't matter who is involved. Because you see, the lesson note from President Akufo-Addo's reign is enough for every single Ghanaian to learn from.
Did you arrest Untumi?
We are getting there.
For the explosives and all
look,
that?
he will be arrested. And let me tell you, and I can tell you for a fact, and I know most of them, people call, oh, Mustapha, you have to tone down MPP and all of that. When they come to power any day in the future, I will be here to be scrutinized. If I've done something wrong, I should be treated same. Anybody who have taken something that belongs to all of us should be arrested. Blakk Rasta, if you go out of Accra, you will see real poverty and frustration in the faces of young people of this country.
This is 3FM.
And look, if you check in our government, you see a little bit of pressure in the last 2 months, where people believe that, they feel that we are in power for 1 year. It's just 2.5 months. Party people feeling that they must get what they want today. Business people feeling that they were tortured so much, there's a change of government. They believe that things will now fall in place. We were under slavery, mental torture, liberties were seized.
This is 3FM.
You couldn't live in your country as if that was your country, under a president, a democratically elected president and government. And so all these people feel that, let's get it now. And so there's pressure on President Mahama. There's pressure on the appointees. Look, this ECG thing that is just coming out. I knew that some of these conversations were going to come up.
Where those containers got missing?
Yes, you remember when our boys were all over the place and people were condemning, and I said I was not going to condemn anybody.
Yeah.
And that I support what my party people were doing.
The NDC boys were going sacking offices and all that.
They would have been acting a bit out of order, but with a good intention to save the country. We had customs in place. We had police officers at the port. We have marine officers at the port. Are they politicians? How come that a government have lost power? Leave politics between the NDC and the MPP. Yours was to do your work. How did those containers get moved out of the port back to Chinese companies who are now melting them and taking them back. Blakk Rasta, this was done not by a foreigner, a Ghanaian, an engineer, an officer of ECG.
Oh, really?
These were done with a coalition of people at the port.
Was it Mahama?
No, it was not our government.
No, not President Mahama. I mean, the boss of the ECG at that time.
So all these people will, all the
This
evidences
is 3FM.
will certainly rest at the doorsteps of those who were in charge of ECG. Matthew Opoku Prempe Honorable Afenyo-Markins, and Dubik.
Dubik, yeah, Mahama Dubik.
They will certainly have to answer for this. And so yesterday I saw them insult the minister. People making commentary, those who don't understand what it is, insulting the Minister of Energy, thinking that it happened now. It didn't happen now. Containers were moving from the port, left, right, center. The whole port and harbor is a crime scene. As I speak to you today, it's a crime scene. These people are not wearing party colors. They are public servants.
Are they sabotaging the government?
They are not sabotaging the government. They have prioritized and developed an appetite of enriching themselves, taking advantage of the banters between NDC, MPP, the ignorance of politicians, and they are milking this nation. It is not about you and I. It is not about His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. It is not about President Akufo-Addo. It's people who just have bad habits, believing that crime should be normalized and they must steal. If I tell the number of people who approach me with a number of deals, criminal deals, that I can use my office for, I get scared.
Wow.
This
ask myself,
is 3FM.
Was this happening right under the anus of the president? I cannot do that because I'm too loud to turn around and do worse.
Why is it taking too long to arrest Untumi?
It is not taking too long. It is not. For example, Afenyo-Markins. When we came to power, one would have thought that, and Blakk, I'll tell you, we personally made instructions to our boys to ensure that no national executive of the MPP was touched. Because officers of the party must be preserved. The two traditions must stand on. And except you have gone to put your hands in government, I don't think that political parties should be antagonizing themselves. It's about the law of the country. If we had to serve the nation and you did something wrong, the people of Ghana should take you on. There was no need going after political party officers. Okay? Now, we thought that there was a nation to build. President Mahama and his vision was actually to begin to develop Ghana that can accommodate everybody, a Ghana that can compensate everybody for the suffering, a Ghana that offers a platform, whether you are MPP, whether you are NDC, to actually do business and prosper. Then the minority and Afenyo-Markins decided that, they must discredit, frustrate the government that is 2.5 months old. And I can tell you that all those people have done some wrongs.
And you are going after them.
Time will catch up with them. And for example, Afenyo-Markins, time is catching up with him faster than I thought.
What has he done?
Many things. When we get there, you will know.
Okay.
When we get there, and anybody who tells you that President Mahama's regime is persecuting and arresting people without merit is lying to you. It's lying to you. Look at the NCA thing, the signal operations thing. Blakk Rasta, why would somebody want to do that? If you love your country and love your party and love your president, who have appointed you to serve, would you do that to your country?
What did they do?
You set up a company, put your innocent wife as a director, and use that company as a vehicle to engage in criminalities You are so wicked that you didn't even think about your kids.
Are you talking about Eduboy?
Eduboy. Today your wife is in cells because you brought it upon her.
They are saying that the man is, I'm talking about Eduboy, is the biggest producer of fertilizer in the whole Ghana, so he's rich. Is it true?
Many people cannot account for their wealth in this country. I'm looking forward for a day we'll pass a law for each and everyone to account for their wealth, and you would see he's the biggest producer of fertilizer.
Yes.
He is a rich man's son. He is educated. Are the facts right or wrong? Did he open a pseudo account similar to the company he was managing? Did he engage in some dubious transaction? So actually it is true that in this country, it is the rich who steal and the poor continue to be victimized. Because go to the courts. The courts are quick today to prosecute someone who have stolen a goat than a politician who have stolen millions.
That's true.
At the
This
expense
is 3FM.
of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Yeah, that is true. What happened to Sedinam Ationu?
I can't tell. And I believe that she's left the country. And if the law says that any day she comes, she should be arrested, she should be arrested.
Are you going after her? Same way you are going for
The law will go after anyone. If I engage,
This
and I've been
is
saying it every day,
3FM.
any day I take the discretion, I exercise a discretion that makes me vulnerable before the laws of Ghana. Those laws should deal with me. You should take responsibility of your actions. Nobody gets drunk when they are stealing money. And President Mahama or President Akufo-Addo may not have appointed anybody to come and be corrupt. If you elect to yourself to be corrupt, you have to take responsibility. And so if the pronouncements are that he should be arrested, and one of the institutions I'm actually getting disappointed in is special prosecutor. If he was up and doing, devoid of political renditions to himself and his institution and getting serious with the job, this country would have been cleaned up easily.
Why are you maintaining him then?
We'll get there. I'm sure that people of Ghana must understand that President Mahama is not in to please his party people, even though we will protect our party people. But crime will be treated as crime.
So for you, the special prosecutor is not doing a good job?
For me, I think he would have done better. He would have done better because he's more resourced than even our prosecutors.
Wow. Are you going to keep him? Do you think that he will be kept?
Well, I think that if he doesn't give Ghanaians a good reason to be there and somebody else can do the job, they should bring the person. At the end of the day, Ghanaians are seeing that some crimes are being committed.
This is 3FM.
Then, after Ghanaians have seen this, in the process of trying to take the people on, the conversation gets evaporated. It's disservice to the nation.
That's right. Mustapha Gbande is my guest, and he is the Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency. It means that he operates from the Presidency. He's closer to the President than most of us here. And we are having a very beautiful conversation right here on 3FM 92.7 in Living Stereo. Mustapha, there was a time you asked people to go out with cutlasses and, butcher people down and all that. What was the truth about the whole thing?
So Asasi Radio misquoted me and misdirected what I have said. I mentioned cutlasses, but it was in the context of vulnerable people defending themselves. And this was the question. We're talking about violence. And I say that the MPP were preparing for violence in the election. Typical example was the Ayewaso West Wagon, the Techiman South, the Ablekuma, where innocent persons who have voted, standing there to watch their votes being counted, get killed. If that was going to be the same thing, and security agencies fail on their job to protect the environment of voting, and the IGP was going to look on for government to continue to kill, then any NDC person who was going to the polling station should have at least a cutlass in his pocket. Because you may never know when a mad person will be holding a gun and you are the next target. And then they misquoted me that I was inciting NDC people to go to polling stations. It was an answer I was rather given. I never said anything like that.
But by the law, was that appropriate?
By the law, yes.
Okay.
By the law, yes. Because the people who died in Techiman and South, the people who were killed, the person who was killed in Ablekuma, they were not killed by drunk officers.
This is
They were killed by soldiers and police officers. And these persons were not armed. They were not harmful. And so at what level do you feel justified to shoot into innocent persons, even if you have the intention of dispelling a rioting group of people? You must be measured within the context of force that you have to release.
Right. Did you regret that comment?
I don't think I did.
Because I'm seeing an apology
And yes, when the conversation was, as responsible as I am, I made that comment. And so I said, to the extent that some persons who respect me, who love me, have heard that misrepresentation by Asasi Radio
3FM.
and have concluded in a certain way or have become worried about it, I apologize and retracted. Because there was no need standing your grounds when you were hurting persons who respect you, or your reputation was being attacked. So I apologize. I took responsibility for the comments. But this was what I actually said. So
were you arrested by the police?
No,
Or were you invited by the police?
No, I actually called the police to ask if I was supposed to come to be investigated because of the comments I have made. Because they reported again that Mustapha was under investigation. I was never invited by anybody.
Nobody ever invited
No.
you? Wow. Interesting.
So it was all MPP games to, bring my name, myself, under some sort of disrepute. But Blakk Rasta, I keep saying this. I'm a very simple character who get driven by what I believe in. Once it is right, I will pursue it. It doesn't matter what comes against me, I'll do it. And everybody knows that. We were determined that this government must fall. And so there was nothing that could stop us. It was not for NDC people alone. We believe that certain things fundamentally were wrong. There was a need for a change. And men must rise up for that change. And we worked on that change. In the process, there were so many distractions that, came our way. But hey, we're determined, and it has to happen.
There was a time it was said that a certain truck full of gold was intercepted and it became news all over the place. Your name was also mentioned alongside
my brother.
The gold and that. What truly was happening?
It was a tip-off of some quantities of gold moving out of this country. And I can tell you for a fact that smuggling was a pervasive crime under President Akufo-Addo.
Wow.
Smuggling in every form, from cocoa to fertilizer to currencies, money to gold. Most of the gold proceeds were smuggled out of this country without even going through proper processes. And then they brought what they call gold for oil.
This is
So when we
3FM.
won, this gold was going out without any form of
Documentation.
When we arrested the gold, and my brother Joseph Yamin, I was traveling that night. I was seated at the airport. We actually planned everything at the airport. And then on the boxes that carried the gold,
Yes.
was Emirates flight stickers. But yet, Bank of Ghana made us believe that the gold was going for assay.
Yes.
All right? The following day, or the following subsequent period when we went to Bank of Ghana, Bank of Ghana officials incompetently came to us to release the gold without any form of documentations.
So you actually took the gold?
But back and forth, we released the gold to Bank of Ghana.
You seized the gold earlier?
We did. And we left it, we took it to Regional Police Command, and then it was moved back to Bank of Ghana vault for safekeeping. Because indeed, it may be tempered if not well kept. But you don't have the seals and everything were with us. So clearly, what we believed was that there was so much liquid cash in this country by former appointees. Because they didn't expect to lose the election, they were now using the money to buy gold and take it out. And that was our intelligence.
Okay.
And it did happen. Most of it. Most of it. And so I had people say NDC people are sacking and they were stealing. Nobody took anything. And Blakk Rasta, I'll tell you, from the day we won election till today, nobody can associate my name or my brother Yamin's name to have benefited from some form of criminality or criminal proceeds. Never. I won't do that. Because you see, at the end of the day,
3FM.
Whosoever calls for equity,
right,
must come
with clean hands.
Clean hands.
That's true.
We led a very strong army to election. Young executives, very vibrant, to support His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We went into that election as opposition. No single individual was hurt in the 2024 election. It was a war between NDC and fake, military officers and intervention or illegal
3FM.
interventions with soldiers.
Galamsey, is Mahama going to succeed?
Yes, he will.
People think that Galamsey is worse now than it was under NAPO.
It's premature. It is indeed. The fact is that.
You agree that it's worse?
The fact is that. No, it's not the worst. The fact is that Galamsey is an industry involving NDC people, MPP people, pastors are involved, lawyers are involved, ministers are involved,
And doctors.
doctors are involved, journalists are involved. One of President Akufo-Addo's ministers, a journalist before, his whole preoccupation throughout being a minister was mining.
Who is this?
I don't want to mention his names now. So this is an industry where political communications cannot resolve.
This is
Because the
3FM.
two political traditions are involved in it, you need an isolated, strong government will, policies framework to deal with it dispassionately. As we speak, the persons who are even more guiltier in this trade are police officers and military officers
I see.
who are deployed into these areas. Today, police officers are aiding casino and all of that in the mining constituencies where there is money. So the president just came in, okay, barely 2.5 months. If you recall, even under President Mills, former appointees were asked to stay in government for 6 months. Even under President Mahama, when President Mills died, it took almost a year to set up the government. Under President Akufo-Addo, he also started very early, but he set up the government. Government had started business within 8 months and some 7 months.
This is 3FM.
President Mahama is 2 months, 2.5 months. He's been able to set up at least 70% of this government. Boards are not in place. Okay? Most of the institutions, enforcement institutions, are not in place. He just made some changes recently within the Ghana Police Service and the Ghana Armed Forces, which will trickle down to the grassroots, where various commanders at various points would have to change, because these were the persons who were at post whilst crimes were ongoing. So if you want to fight that crime, you obviously will have to start by removing that person and bringing a neutral character there. So when you go to all the mining constituencies, the police commanders there are the ones aiding these crimes, because myself, I'm a political leader. I don't arrest a Galamsey. I don't have the locus. Nana B or Justin Kodia cannot arrest somebody who is in Galamsey. It obviously have to take a police officer or a joint team established for that purpose. Is the team in place? No, because the government is premature. The government have to take or bring out a strong measure. And so we assume that we are still within the period of transition. And I'll tell you, my senior brother Omani Boama, the Minister for Defense, who being passionate on the fight against illegal mining,
Right.
decided to launch an operation. Immediately he took over as a defense minister. We're having a conversation about the feasibility of it. By the time and if you know how Omani does his things, he will plan behind and execute. So this was supposed to be a surprise operation to ransack persons who were even in the water bodies. By the time the officers get there, the miners had already gotten information.
A tip off.
And they had
Fled.
So
Wow.
who told them? The military high command. Okay, so this underscores the fact that if you want to use the same individuals to fight this, you fail.
This is
Because
3
it's about
FM.
exchange of money at that level, at the grassroots.
Is that why the military command has been changed?
I'm just saying that, so that is why I believe that if you take over as president, you must get people who are aligned with your vision.
In your opinion, you think Dan Pare was incompetent?
No, I don't think so.
Why was he removed then?
I have my personal opinion as a student of security. I think that he had reshaped the image of police, be it as it may, with its internal issues. I think that he was one of the best IGPs we have had. I think he took us to 2020 election. He had just become IGP. 2024 election, there was no single casualty. There was adequate professionalism. That would have meant that there was a serious police force.
Right.
The most indisciplined force in the 2024 election was rather the military. Because President Akufo-Addo had made his ADC an army commander. Okay, and I was in the field, so I know this.
Okay.
You may have your own issues with him. He may have his leadership crisis. But I think that in security, there was some improvement. Robbery have reduced at some point. Okay? There was an effort to bring in discipline. And if you do operational work or you lead people and all of them love you, it means there's something fundamentally wrong.
This is 3
You see,
FM.
Blakk Rasta, we are losing a lot of good hands as far as police, military, operations are involved. If you take a hand like Upon Pepra, this is a very good hand, a grassroots breeded soldier who have attained that level of pedigree.
Right.
But you see,
This
because you
is
have
3 FM.
politicians who are so desperate that they will necessarily misuse institutions of state for political reasons. That is what brought us this far. Okay? So in my opinion, I'm happy for the current IGP. Certainly one of the best hands we have in terms of police operations. I had my opinions that their disagreement, the two of them, was not good for the police as an institution. And of course, the fact that the president hires and fires. He wouldn't fire you because you've done something wrong,
This is
because you
3
have failed
FM.
or you have not failed. He will fire you because the power is for him to fire and hire.
Mamitiwa was sent out by the president, and it looks like she has returned. What's your opinion?
Well, I also do think that she due for retirement? She's not due for retirement. We shouldn't create a political situation where we hound out people post their retirement, particularly within structured services, if they are not politically exposed. I think that she's politically exposed because she was the head of Yoko. And so it was not a good thing to keep him within the police structure.
Right.
So once he had come close to governance, it was the best decision to keep him at the ministry around policy and governance, other than police as an institution.
Interesting. Now, there was also a time it was said, in fact, recently, that Dampare was doing a lot of lobbying around the presidency, which, I mean, you are very familiar with. I'm talking about the presidency. Did you have a hint of these jugglings?
Current Chief Justice is also lobbying. Everybody lobbies.
Wow.
When there's a change of government, everyone lobbies. It's not a crime. It's not wrong. Blakk Rasta have become a president. He's my brother. He knows me and I know him. It's a different matter. Blakk Rasta becomes a president. Someone else doesn't know him. It's important he extends a hand of familiarization. That is not a crime. And that is not wrong, in my opinion. And so everyone can lobby. And when a new president comes, because you were at the pleasure of the president today,
right.
If President Mahama becomes a wicked man like the former president, which he will not become, and says, come and slap Blakk Rasta, I will slap you. I will not turn my face. I will slap you because the president says, go and do it. It's only few people who can muster the courage to tell the president that, Mr. President, what you want me to do is wrong. Few people. And so the president and the government would have used you in such a way that it displaces you. That is what I think most of our commanding officers went through. One person I wouldn't have slept if he wasn't removed was the army commander.
The ADC, the former ADC of Ghana.
Yes. He is a bad guy.
Wow. What's his name?
These are people who plotted. Onguna, bad guy, very bad army officer.
Wow.
He was responsible for the reckless deployment that happened, which almost erupted into a situation of a big conflict, because this is the first time we have seen the military getting so exposed to elections with arms. You've seen soldiers being attacked because the populace, if you gauge the mood of the country, you have to preserve the sanctity of the institution. So these were people who drew the institution closer to politics. And that is why we are where we are. Look, President Mahama is a good man. He loves Ghanaians, and I know that. He's a man who, if he had his way, let everyone be happy. Let's sit on the table and smile. But Ghanaians don't think like that. Did you ever imagine that the MPP will gain a voice after 2.5 months, and their objective is to sink the current government? 2.5 months.
Interesting.
After all the ills, the criminalities, the rascalities, all the things we have not seen before, 2 months, they want to equalize, to say, let us. Their conscience is not telling them that Blakk Rasta can fare for himself. But the children in Bunkubu
This is
Yodo,
3FM.
the children in Wale Wale, the children in Yankanduri, without government, who will take care of these children? And today, if the government becomes worse, when you are going to buy petrol, they will not say that because you are Blakk Rasta, African's finest, take petrol for free. They wouldn't ask your political affiliation.
I'm going to open the phone lines.
Yes.
So that people can also share their views. There's somebody here who says, oh, your guest is referring to Kojo Ponkroma. Is it true? Did you?
I didn't mention anybody's name.
Okay, but were you referring to him?
I know a minister who was a journalist. He was into Galamsey. Most of President Akufo-Addo's ministers were into mining.
Was Ponkroma into mining?
I will mention it now. When they will get there, we'll cross. I'm saying that the game of arresting people who have done the wrong things is yet to happen, including ministers who are into money laundering. Not only visa racketeering, money laundering.
Wow.
Ministers of President Akufo-Addo. Capital flight, they aided capital flight. How money, dollars moved out of this country. You were crying that the economy was crashing.
Yes, right.
But they were moving money out of this country.
Oh, there were some
Dollars.
members who were doing
Yes,
that.
yes.
in the
President
government.
Akufo-Addo's ministers.
Wow.
So we'll get to all of these. That's why when I see them making noise about, let me tell you, they'll be arrested. They will be arrested. And I'm happy that petitions are coming up to clean the judiciary. Once the judiciary is clean, we are good to go.
So the CJ will go.
Nothing will stop her from going. Because today, as of yesterday, I saw, I was thinking some neutrals like yourselves will be advocating and finding answers. I didn't see any neutral.
That's right.
I saw MPP actors. So is a CJ a politician? As it stands, in terms of public opinion, she's aligned to the MPP because of the MPP's appetite to defend her.
This
is what it is.
3FM.
The president is mandated to receive petitions and review those petitions, forward same to Council of State and consult. At that level, that body would have been constituted before a matter starts. So the president notifies the country that I have received 3 separate petitions. People are seeking for the removal of the Chief Justice. Please be notified that I'm forwarding same to Council of State to review. What is the rush? So the communication has not yet been received by the Council of State, but the Chief Justice is in a hurry to demand who wrote the petition about them. Has they referred anything to the Chief Justice? There was no conversation. The law didn't say that when the president received the petition, he should read it out. The president said, I have received petitions from the people of Ghana to remove the Chief Justice. In accordance with the dictates of the law, I am forwarding same
This
to
is
Council of
3FM.
State. What if tomorrow Council of State comes out to say, oh, we have actually reviewed the petitions and they are bogus and unmeritorious, as in the case of their own attempt to remove, at the time, Dampare, yes, and petitions and all of that. And they said they didn't find any. No, it was not. I think it was special prosecutor, and they wrote it, and somebody put Matiamidu's name. You remember?
Yes, I do.
And they later on came to deny and all of that. So these petitions can become mute even at the level of the president engaging with the Council of State.
Why has Baba Kamara not been retained as the head of security? Do you know?
Well,
we thought he was quite loyal to the president.
Running a country is not about loyalty. It's time and season. If you check President Mahama's appointments, so far, this is the first time we've had quite a lot of young people like myself in government.
Yes.
It means that the man is looking for energy and speed.
Not
in
old,
terms of
old age.
being able to run the country.
That's right.
Number 2,
This
you
is
ask
3FM.
why is Uncle Totobi Kwache not in government? Why is Uncle Bevulu Lati not in charge of national security? Because time changes, seasons changes. New young men like us are being trained. This is the first time I've seen national executives and regional executives, more of us in government. The reason is that the man wants to say, look, I appreciate my grassroots. Thank you for what you did. Because it becomes more easier for the grassroots to talk to their deputy general
This
secretary who is
is
in the presidency
3FM.
than having a director of operation the grassroots doesn't know. If you take Sami Jemfi, for example, brilliant guy, he's building the gold board. If you were into mining, it becomes easier to approach him because he's a national communication officer. He's worked with the grassroots. If you take Pablo, Giorgio Parado, he was the youth organizer of the party. He's still the youth organizer. He's in charge of the Ministry of Youth. So if you are a young person and you want to reach out to him, it becomes more easier
That's right.
than somebody. So the president's style of appointing have been consultative, all-round involvement, because you see that even persons who are perceived to be appointees of President Akufo-Addo, he maintained quite a number of them. The reason is that there are certain institutions where technicalities involved. You cannot just take out the person. You need to understand what is really happening there, because if you bring somebody who doesn't understand the terrain,
This is 3
you will
FM.
set back the institution.
That's right. What are you going to be doing with Koku Anyidoho and the other gentleman, Lotte Jacobs?
Alote Jacobs have actually lied on 2 national executives last week. One on the national organizer, Joseph Yamin. 2 on Malik Basintale. And we'll get him sued soon.
Wow.
And so these are sellouts who fell alongside.
Koku and Alote.
Yes, Koku fell. Alote is a sellout, I can say so. But Koku's issue, because I have sat in his seat as a Deputy General Secretary Operation.
Right.
He's my... Is it my successor or my predecessor? My predecessor.
Yes.
Yes, sir. He's actually my big brother.
Yes.
I am prevented from criticizing him because he's my former boss.
But it's about Ghana.
But I
isn't
do
it?
think that he has shortchanged himself. Because politics and political environment is not all juicy. The more you work and serve, the more you make enemies. The more you give your best, the more you lose yourself. And so political actors go through a lot of things. But we have an inspiration. We have people to learn from. So no matter his differences, he should have maintained the temperature. Today, I'm sure that Koku would have been in a position that everybody in this country would have been happy for him.
Do you think he regrets it?
I will engage him at some point and see if he has. One thing about President Mahama is that if you are fighting his enemies, you have to be careful. Because the man forgives everyone. And so if you see somebody hating President Mahama and you are fighting the person,
Do you think Koku thought that the NDC was not going to come into power?
they all thought the NDC would not come to power. They didn't.
What did Alote do? What lies exactly did he tell?
I didn't bring the this thing here. Recently, he lied that Yamin was in illegal mining.
Galamsey,
Yes, and he actually said some nasty thing about my younger brother,
Malik Basintale.
Malik Basintale, because they are all busy. We are busy. We are actually busy trying to stabilize the party to help the government. And so at the right time when we have to do politics, all of these issues will come up. But I will also say again that I wish Koku come back. Because look, the NDC have always received people who fall out and make efforts to rejoin.
I'm going to let my producer call Koku right now and I'll ask him if he'll come back. Yeah?
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah, producer.
I'll be the happiest man the day Koku comes back and actually demonstrate remorse and
Right.
a change of attitude, because he's an asset. Koku is arguably one of the best writers in this country.
Yeah, what would you want him to be remorseful about?
Well, you have jumped out of the boat. What it means is that you didn't take responsibility.
Okay.
We are leading from the front. So if you jump off the boat, you have left millions of followers, including those who believed and trusted you. I think that people must take responsibility.
They
If
must.
tomorrow I'm the youngest deputy general secretary to have happened to the party, some sort of difficulties ensue, and I decide that I want to resign without weighing the implications of the rule, the feeling of the grassroots, and how they see you.
Yes.
It's a betrayal of their cause. And that is what Koku did. And his continuous attack on President Mahama, who have served President Mills loyally, who God have rewarded out of that service to emerge as president from vice president and president again. You don't insult such a person. I just told you today that I cannot insult Kokwanyido because he is my big brother. He is somebody who have sat where I am sitting today.
How did Mahama feel about those insults and attacks?
I'm telling you that the man doesn't care about anything. The man, we see him laugh with his enemies all the time. So President Mahama is somebody who loves to build everyone. He loves to make everybody happy. But it's impossible to do that.
Mustapha, you are a Muslim, right?
I'm a Christian. I was a Muslim.
Interesting.
This
I've
is
actually been a
3FM.
traditionalist before by home. I told you my parents were traditionals. I was adopted into Islam for about 25, 26 years.
Okay. I'm told that I have Kuku on the line.
Yeah.
Yes, Kuku, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, I'm so happy that you agreed to talk to us. You have your brother here who is sitting in your position right now, Mustapha Gbande. And he's telling me that he admires you a lot and that he wishes that you will return to the NDC and be a little...
Hold on, just a minute. Just let me just reposition myself, please.
All right, so Kuku...
Take that again.
Okay, so I'm saying that Mustapha Gbande is here and he's saying that he's a very, very big fan of yours. He's sitting in your position right now in the party and he would wish that you return and you are a little remorseful and that the president is ready to accept you back.
Well, Blakk Rasta, good afternoon, and grateful for the opportunity to share time with your audience. And I'm grateful to my younger brother, Mustapha Gbande. I didn't listen. In fact, a lawyer friend of mine called me about 5 minutes ago and asked me to tune in, and that Mustapha was on air and making
This
some
is
complimentary
3FM.
comments about me. But where I was, I couldn't tune in. Then the call just came in and I picked him. So, Mustapha, thanks for the complimentary remarks. I mean, you and I, we know that we share a lot in common. You were one of my young guys. You had a lot of respect for me, and the respect was reciprocal. And but in all honesty, Mustapha, I never left the party, and I've never left the party. Consistently, I have made that position very clear. You know, something happened, and the then General Secretary, Asiedu Nketia, claimed to have suspended me from the party. And in fairness to the laws of natural justice, how do you pronounce a man guilty without giving him a fair hearing? And I received no letter, I received no correspondence, I received nothing from the then General Secretary. And I only believe that he, the General Secretary at the time, just thought that because I contested him in an election, he would use whatever muscle he had to try and embarrass me. But unfortunately, I don't get embarrassed that way. And
This
consistently
is
in all my
3FM.
interviews, I've made it abundantly clear that I remain a member of the party. I haven't gone anywhere. Yes, I hold on to some contrary opinion, which everybody is allowed to when it comes to certain specifics. But Mustapha, you know that Kokwanyido is not going to leave the NDC and go anywhere. So, Mustapha Gbande.
Yeah. In fact, Koku, he said that you have attacked the president a number of times and he wishes that you would be a little remorseful and that the president is ready to accept you. Are you going to do it?
I mean, I'm not too sure how I have done that. And a lot of the matters are not what is Mustapha, is he there?
Yes, he's here. He's listening to you.
Mustapha?
Yes, sir.
Good. How is it?
I'm fine, sir.
Good. I'm not too sure that these matters even... I mean, I'm not too sure what the real issues are. Because who has bothered to ever call me. Can anybody say, Mustapha, that they called me and I refused to show up? Let anybody come out and say that they invited Koku either formally or informally and he refused to show up for any engagement. There's no evidence and it's never happened.
Maybe
it's never, nobody. Even you, Mustapha, my younger brother.
Maybe because Koku,
you have not tried to say, senior, can we just meet for and have a drink, a cup of water and have a brotherly senior brother, junior brother chat? Nobody. I am the one who gets maligned consistently. I get maligned consistently, and I'm only human. Because politics aside, I belong to a very wide network of professional groupings and a wide network of social groupings. Most recently, a graduate of Trinity Theological Seminary, which is even older than the University of Ghana, the longest existing one in the sub-region. I belong to a large network of people who respect me. So when consistently for political, and politics is only one facet of my earthly existence. Politics is only one facet of my earthly existence and my divine calling in the earth realm. And it's because of that politics, people choose to malign me, defame me consistently. Most recently, I'm sure all of you have heard that finally I decided that I won't discuss these matters on the airwaves any longer. I'll rather go to court. For which reason, one of your colleagues and his radio or the entity that employed him, I have sued.
This is 3FM.
Because enough is enough.
Koku.
Blakk Rasta, when people seek to destroy and defame you for reasons that don't exist,
right?
It gets to a point where, for family reasons, I have children, I have a family. They are growing into a certain family and into a certain surname. You lose a daughter painfully, and you are accused that because you hate a former vice president and you want to kill him, you deliberately chose to kill your daughter to use her blood for ritual purposes. And when you are saying these things on the airwaves, nobody has once called you to say, Koku, we know you. We know your loyalty to the party. We know your commitment to the party. If for any reason some young boys on the airwaves have said certain things, is there any way we can sit down and judge? Nobody.
Okay, Koku, if I may just come in all these cases, I don't think that President Mahama said anything against you. Would you say that because he is the father of the nation right now, you would give...
I have never said anything against him. All I have sought to do consistently is to say that I never was rude to him when he was vice president. There is no evidence to that effect. They said I'm supposed to have locked him up or locked out. Some ridiculous things that I have heard over 12 years. This year will be 13 years since President Mills passed.
You didn't say he was part of the plot to kill him. You didn't say...
Pardon me?
You didn't say that Mahama had a hand in the death of Atta Mills?
He had a what?
A hand in the death of Atta Mills.
Oh, please. Let them produce the evidence.
Okay. All right.
As learned and organized in my thought process as I am. Why would I go and make such a wild aspect like that when there's no evidence to that effect? Where?
Finally, Koku, would you say that, okay, let bygones be bygones, it's still my party?
As for the party, I haven't left the party.
No, I'm talking about Mahama.
On the issue of Asiedun Ketia and what he sought to do at that time, it's up to Asiedun Ketia to show magnanimity and say, look, I made a mistake. I mean, the man was not served any processes. I just swung an axe in his direction for no apparent reason. And if I'm national chairman today, and I want to say that, look, everything. So the bygones will come from there.
Okay.
But on the issue of those that I am in court with, honestly, if any matter is going to be settled, let it be settled within the realms and domain of the justice system.
Okay, so with Mahama, I mean, do you think that you would move over to him and say, well, I was very much embittered, but I'm still coming over to you to say, whatever it is, let it lie?
Koku has never been bitter. And the man was vice president. His excellency was vice president. And people seem to forget. And I'm happy that my younger brother, Mustapha Gbande, makes reference to the fact that he now occupies the office that I once occupied. Blakk Rasta. When President Mills passed in 2012, 2013, President Mahama took over. There was a movement from the castle to the Flagstaff House. No problem. The Flagstaff House is the seat of government.
This is
2013, 2014, there was really no space for me. December of 2014, I chose to go and contest as Deputy General Secretary at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. Graciously, delegates overwhelmingly gave me a certain mandate. Now, 2016, I was Deputy General Secretary. People seem to forget. I've met young men who have insulted me, and they said, once President Mills died, then I started fighting President John Mahama. It's not true, because in 2016, as Deputy General Secretary of the party, I was the one who went on record in the middle of the night when Samia Uku and Co were all over the place saying they had won. I was the one who said John Mahama was in a comfortable lead.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that statement.
I didn't say John Atamils was in a comfortable lead. I said John Mahama was in a comfortable lead.
Right.
Was that not service enough to the party and to the then government and the then president? Of course, subsequently, the president himself considered defeat and President Akufo-Addo took over.
This is 3FM.
What really became my crime? Only because opportunity came. Fast forward in 2020. And I met President Akufo-Addo and I said, Asumdwe Park, the president asked me, Ukoku, what can I do for you? What can I do for you, Blakk Rasta? Individuals, shouldn't I be asking for personal favors? I flattened every personal favor and said, for me, Mr. President, I don't need any personal favors. Asumdwe Park is sitting down there in a very deplorable state. If you have anything to do Asumdwe Park.
This is 3FM.
And then that becomes my crime, that I went to beg for something that will honor the memory of the late president. And honor the state, the republic that I have served loyally. And so I have not understood where the antagonism has come from. And Blakk Rasta, I'm happy to hear my younger brother speak this way today. If 2, 3, 4 of him in leadership position begin to speak this way and the narrative is changing, won't we be working on better planes?
If the President Mahama was listening,
we will be working on better planes. But when some of the boys run amok on social media,
this is 3FM.
And call me names, insult me, defame me. At that point, I have no option but to go to the proper place, which is within the ambit of the justice system, and be able to seek some redress to bring finality to it. Because there is no evidence.
All right, Koku.
Ever rude to then Vice President John Mahama. And today, as a President of the Republic, what will be the reason why I'll be rude to him?
All right. Thank you so much.
It's not in my DNA. It has never been in my DNA. Go and check all my records.
Yes.
So I'm not a rude person.
All right.
And Gbande, I'm sure will attest to that. I'm not a rude person. Even to my subordinates. I don't just speak badly about them.
All right.
But I have a certain passion that allows me to defend myself when I think that I'm being stepped upon too much.
All right.
And that is where it is. So I've never left the NDC. I never wrote any letter. I've never said anywhere. Consistently ran the internet.
This is 3FM.
The internet is there. It doesn't lie. Consistently. I am still a member of the NDC. The most recent card that came out, I think 2 years ago, I went to my constituency in Ho Central. I got an ID card. I'm loyal to the party. But if a certain group of people in the upper echelon today show it in certain ways that they don't want you around them,
this is
3FM. And just wait. Another time will come.
Thanks so much, Koku. I'm going to invite you so that we can have a longer chat. In fact, remember this week.
And I wish Mustapha well in his new dispensation. I hear he's working at the presidency now. And so
this is 3FM.
Thank you so much. He appreciates you. Mustapha, you wanted to say something, right?
No, I just wanted to wish him well. The reality is that we are a political party, and when warriors win, when they conquer, they don't destroy, they repair. And they show love. And that is what I've learned from His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And actually, we should be thanking him for who he is, and thank his family, his wife, for who he is. Because, but for him, I don't think President Akufo-Addo will be sitting in this country today. Not by NDC people, even MPP people. The number of Ghanaians who want to take revenge against the previous government.
Right.
The leadership of President Mahama have formed a government that doesn't allow for extreme actions. It slows you down. If you look at how he even appointed his security chiefs and all of that, just to slow the system down, for the law to take its own course.
Do you think Koku betrayed the party?
I think he did, and to the largest extent he did. And like I said, we have to take full responsibility of our actions. And I'm the type that when I err, I should be quick to accept, not because I feel I'm right, because somebody is standing by and believe that I'm wrong. Because you need people.
Do you think it was a good opportunity for him to have apologized to the president?
Right now?
Yeah.
No. I can assure you that President Mahama, the man sitting there, he doesn't have any ill feeling against anybody. I've never seen him angry before, except one day. I was privileged to sit in a flight with him. And I saw in his face that he wasn't happy. That is all. He is a good man. He is a man who demonstrates enormous compassion.
Do you know what made him unhappy that day?
I mean, party issues. I saw he didn't say it. And he doesn't speak.
3FM.
He will not express it. He's that man who forgives everybody. Look, when we came into power, the first person who organized a program and President Mahama attended was who? Gabi.
I see.
This is the man who financed, fueled everything to discredit, to insult, to attack, to disgrace, to embarrass the image, to concoct fake stories sponsored against President Mahama.
Are you going after him too?
We will, certainly.
So Gabi is
No,
in
we
your
will.
radar?
I know most of them are all over the place and say, oh, we have paid the NDC boys, they can't do anything. Time will catch up with them.
How
Unless
about Paul Adumochiri? He says he's been waiting for you guys all this while and you guys are not able to come and say anything.
Who? Paul? Well, it's not as if somebody is chasing somebody. And you may hide. You see, the most foolish mindset is when you believe that you have learned so well how to steal without being caught. It's not a patriotic behavior.
Okay.
And so, when you are not caught yet, you think you are innocent.
Mustapha, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you. We've run out of time.
Yeah.
If there's any final word you probably want to, say.
I just want to also thank you for all the bashing. The last time I heard you bashed me, I think I called you and, gave you some information and you quickly, and I was so grateful that we could share that mutual respect. The last thing I'll say is that I know that Ghanaians want things done. We have a president who is forming a government. We should be careful with persons within the MPP who believe that they must set an equalization tone. Galamsey is very important, very critical to this government's agenda, just as any other Ghanaian. We have to give the government time to chain out a non-partisan, strong government policy direction as far as curbing the Galamsey menace is concerned.
Okay.
What will you feel tomorrow if President Mahama decides to say, okay, I want to put investigators to every constituency. Investigate in the last 8-10 years. Every Galamsey pit you find, let's investigate and find who was responsible for that pit. Let's establish courts. Let's put those people before court. What would you say that will be? But let's exercise patience and allow that to come and pass. I have also heard commentaries about Chief Justice and the MPP fighting for him. In my candid opinion, because of the controversy surrounding herself. Not because she's a thief or she's done something wrong, but because there are controversies around her and the judiciary. It's wise and competent that by this time she would have voluntarily stepped aside for all the litany of cases in court pending her removal. As for removal, nothing will save her from being removed. Blakk Rasta, do you remember that the issue of double salary against MPs was a very crucial matter?
Yes, it was.
And so if you are being given an accommodation and you continue to take rent allowance from your company, is it not a crime?
It's a crime.
Is it not enough to get you out of office?
It's stealing.
So she shouldn't allow these MPP boys to politicize and disgrace her. She served in a position of honor, and I think that we should hasten slowly. President Mahama have not leaked any petition. President Mahama have not spoken about any petition. No government official have spoken about any petition. But the president has communicated to the nation that he had received 3 petitions and he was forwarding same to Council of State. It is the MPP who are doing their own deduction. As for the removal, she will be removed and many others will be removed to reset this country for us to move.
Thank you so much, Mustapha.
Luka Production.